Strange owls deliver letters to this family every day, but the man of the house tears them up immediately. As time goes on, more and more owls appear, bringing countless letters. Even the eggs contain letters. Soon their house is completely surrounded by owls outside. This couple acts this way to prevent their nephew Harry Potter from having any contact with the detested Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Harry's mother had awakened magical abilities, while his aunt had always been a non-magical muggle, leading to years of jealousy toward her sister. After Harry's parents died, though she took him in, she never really cared for him. She made him live in the cupboard under the stairs, treating him like a servant every day. When he reached middle school age, she sent him to the cheapest school available, even giving him his cousin's hand-me-down uniforms. Unexpectedly, just before the school year began, Hogwarts sent an acceptance letter. When the aunt's family learned about this, they tried to prevent his enrollment by sealing up the house completely. But that day, letters poured in like a flood through every crack and crevice. For the first time, Harry felt pure joy. However, the aunt's family wouldn't let him succeed so easily. Having heard that wizards fear seawater, they took him to a small island in the ocean. Finally free from the letter harassment, the family could rest peacefully. Only Harry remained awake, drawing a cake outline on the floor to celebrate his 11th birthday alone. Just as he was making his wish, a massive figure burst through the door. It was Hagrid, Hogwarts messenger. Uncle Vernon immediately pulled out a hunting rifle and told him to leave, but Hagrid, already aware of how they treated Harry, angrily bent the rifle barrel and then presented Harry with a birthday cake. Hagrid used magic to light the fireplace and began telling Harry about his true heritage. His parents were both great wizards, and he would attend the greatest magical school. Ignoring his aunt completely, Hagrid took Harry away. The immediate priority was shopping for school supplies, so he brought Harry to the Leaky Cauldron. Everyone there looked at Harry as if he were a treasure, showing him tremendous respect, including Professor Quirrell, who taught defense against the dark arts. Hagrid then led Harry to the back door of the pub, tapping the wall in several places. The bricks mechanically opened like a door, revealing the magical world's Diagon Alley. Harry looked around in wonder at the dazzling array of merchandise. Since he didn't have any money, Hagrid pointed to a bank, explaining that his parents' assets were stored there. This trip wasn't just to withdraw money for Harry, but also to transfer something from his parents' vault. The manager took them on a minecart ride underground to find Vault 687's entrance. Inside was a small mountain of gold, Harry's parents' inheritance. They then found Vault 713, which the manager personally opened with its complex security mechanisms. Inside was only a small, mysterious package. After buying many supplies in Diagon Alley, the most essential item was still a wand. Hagrid recommended an old wand shop that almost all noble wizards visited. As soon as Harry entered, an elderly man glided over. The shopkeeper selected several wands for him, but none felt quite right. Finally, the shopkeeper carefully brought out another wand. The moment Harry grasped it, something extraordinary happened. The shopkeeper explained that this wand actually had a twin, both came from the same phoenix feather, but the other person's name couldn't even be spoken. When Hagrid returned, he had prepared a birthday gift for Harry. That evening, Hagrid told Harry about his background. The other wand's owner was Voldemort, who had tried to kill baby Harry. No one had ever survived an encounter with him before, yet Harry had lived to this day. His parents died that night, leaving only a lightning bolt scar on Harry's forehead. From then on, Harry became a legend in the wizarding world. Voldemort might not be dead and could be planning his return. The next day, Hagrid brought Harry to the station but had to leave early on urgent business, giving him a ticket to travel alone. Looking at the ticket showing platform 9 3/4, Harry was completely puzzled. Just as he was about to ask for help, he realized Hagrid was already gone. Fortunately, he encountered the wizard Ron's family and learned that the stone wall was the entrance to the magical world. Finding the real platform 9 3/4, Harry and Ron became good friends and also met the brilliant but quirky Hermione. Though Hermione's strange personality annoyed me, none of them could have imagined how dramatically their lives would change. That evening, the train finally reached its destination. Hagrid used small boats to transport the new students across the dark water that couldn't reflect the lamplight, shrouding the magical school in mysterious mist. They arrived at the magnificent Hogwarts. Before enrollment, Professor McGonagall told them they needed to take a test for house sorting. There were 4 houses, each with its own characteristics. Everyone's grades would be linked to their house, with final evaluations at year's end. Malfoy arrogantly approached Harry, who wanted to befriend him, but Malfoy first mocked Ron as a poor kid. Seeing his new friend humiliated, Harry directly rejected Malfoy, creating lasting animosity between them. Before each new student sorting ceremony, Headmaster Dumbledore warned them about two forbidden places they must never approach: the dark forest at the school's border and the third-floor corridor on the right side. Professor McGonagall then brought out a hat. The wise sorting hat would make the decisions. Hermione was sorted into Gryffindor, and Malfoy predictably went to Slytherin. While the two whispered to each other, Harry suddenly saw Professor Quirrell speaking with Snape, and his forehead scar suddenly stung with pain. Ron was called up for sorting and also went to Gryffindor. Then came Harry's turn, with even Dumbledore paying close attention. The sorting hat seemed to hear Harry's thoughts and sent him to Gryffindor. After the sorting ceremony came the welcome feast. Instantly, the previously empty tables filled with delicious food, and everyone began eating excitedly. The path to the dormitories was equally eye-opening. The staircases constantly changed, and the people in the wall paintings moved lifelike. Some guarded secret passages that required the correct password, and the painted figures would help open doors. That night, while everyone slept deeply, Harry sat on the moonlit windowsill, wondering where fate would take him. Unexpectedly, the very next day he and Ron were late to class. Seeing that the teacher hadn't arrived yet, they felt lucky, but then the quill on the desk transformed into Professor McGonagall, who gave the two newcomers a stern lecture. The second class was taught by Snape, who seemed to particularly target Harry, asking him questions about material that hadn't been covered yet. Faced with this harassment, Harry grew increasingly suspicious of him. During study hall, everyone received packages from family members, but Harry had no one to send him anything. He could only borrow a newspaper from Ron and suddenly saw that Vault 713 had been broken into. Harry realized that Hagrid had already removed whatever was inside, suggesting that a conspiracy was gradually unfolding. Perhaps their trio should take action. During flying lessons, Harry clashed with Malfoy, who threw his friend's Remembrall to tease him. Harry skillfully caught it on his broomstick, impressing the Gryffindor head of house, who strongly recommended him for the Quidditch team as seeker. This was a sport similar to basketball, but besides the two teams trying to score goals, there was also a fast-moving golden snitch constantly darting around the field. Each team's seeker's job was to catch it. Harry had never played this sport before and wasn't confident he could handle such a crucial position. Hermione brought Harry to a trophy wall that displayed his father's awards. Inspired by his father's legacy, Harry decided to follow in his footsteps. On their way back, the shifting staircase brought the three to the forbidden third floor. When they tried to return, the caretaker's cat found them. The panicked trio ran and ducked into a secret room before the caretaker arrived, discovering a three-headed dog inside. They desperately escaped the room, closed the door, and safely returned to their dormitory. Hermione mentioned seeing a trapdoor behind the dog, suggesting whatever was inside must be extremely valuable. This reminded Harry of what Hagrid had retrieved from the vault, feeling there must be some connection between the two. The next day's levitation class had everyone excited, but Ron couldn't manage it at all. Ron couldn't believe Hermione could do it so easily and developed resentment toward the girl. Walking back with Harry after class, he continued bad-mouthing Hermione. Hermione, following behind, heard his hurtful words and walked away sadly. That evening's Halloween feast proceeded without Hermione, who reportedly spent the entire afternoon crying in the bathroom. Ron immediately felt deeply guilty, not knowing how to apologize. At that moment, Professor Quirrell burst in shouting, reporting that a troll had appeared in the school, then collapsed unconscious. The news panicked all the students, but Professor Dumbledore successfully maintained order. He had the prefects lead everyone to safety while he and the other teachers went to capture the troll. However, Ron and Harry, who had already left, remembered Hermione was still in the bathroom, unaware of the danger. On their way back, they encountered the troll, and just as Hermione emerged after calming down, she came face to face with it. Fortunately, Ron and Harry arrived just in time. Ron used the levitation spell he had just learned to lift the troll's club and knock it out. Professor McGonagall and Snape arrived upon hearing the commotion, scolding them for taking such risks. During the reprimand, Harry suddenly noticed Snape's injured leg, deepening his suspicions. Later, seeing Snape limping around, Harry shared his thoughts with the others, believing Snape was plotting something, trying to steal whatever was in the forbidden area and getting bitten by the three-headed dog. But this all remained to be verified. After some training, the Quidditch match began. Their opponents were the cunning Slytherin team. Initially, Harry's team scored 2 goals, but then Slytherin started playing dirty tricks. One ball hit the goalkeeper, knocking him down, and they quickly gained the lead. The golden snitch appeared before Harry, stirring his competitive spirit, but suddenly his broomstick went out of control, swaying wildly in the air. Hermione quickly grabbed binoculars and observed Snape watching Harry while muttering something. Convinced Snape was behind it, Hermione secretly set fire to Snape's robes, creating chaos. Harry immediately regained control and battled Slytherin for the golden snitch. With remarkable courage, Harry dove toward the ground and successfully caught the golden snitch. Their team naturally won the victory. After the match, they were convinced Snape was up to something. Harry told Hagrid about this, but Hagrid firmly refused to believe it because he had raised the three-headed dog himself. Soon Hagrid realized he had said too much and stopped discussing these suspicions. At Christmas, Harry received a gift, a relic left by his father, an invisibility cloak. Using this cloak, he went to the restricted section of the library to search forbidden books. There he saw Snape and Professor Quirrell arguing. Harry tried to get closer to hear what they were saying, but Snape seemed to sense something and grabbed at the air in Harry's direction. Then, looking thoughtful, he stopped talking. The escaping Harry accidentally entered a room containing only a mirror. In it, Harry saw his parents, though nothing was actually behind him. From then on, Harry visited every night, gazing into the empty mirror, imagining emotions he had never experienced. He was still just a child, pretending he was in his parents' arms. But that day, Dumbledore found Harry and told him this was the mirror of Erist, which reflected one's deepest desires. But people couldn't live in dreams forever, they would lose themselves. That day, Hermione found clues in a book. They believed the three-headed dog was guarding the Philosopher's Stone. Ron recalled that in Snape's first class, he had mentioned knowing the method for immortality. This might be Snape's ultimate goal. The three went to Hagrid overnight to report the situation, but were told that Snape was one of the stone's guardian teachers and had no reason to steal it. Just then, Malfoy appeared and reported to Professor McGonagall that the three had violated rules by going out at night. McGonagall immediately decided all four would lose points and be assigned detention work. The punishment was following Hagrid on patrol in the dark forest. Hagrid had Hermione and Ron follow him, while Harry and Malfoy formed a separate team. The two began bickering. Malfoy was cowardly but stubborn, yet had to move forward to save face. However, Fawkes suddenly stopped. Looking ahead, they discovered a horrifying scene. A figure in black had killed a unicorn and was drinking its fresh blood. Harry's forehead scar reacted, and the figure noticed them looking. Malfoy immediately screamed and fled. Just as the figure approached Harry, a centaur appeared and drove the dark figure away at the critical moment. The centaur said it was probably the injured Voldemort. Unicorn blood could extend life but came with a curse, turning one into a monster. They went to Hagrid's, and Harry asked if anyone had recently inquired about the three-headed dog. Hagrid recalled that not long ago, a mysterious person had given him a dragon egg and asked about methods for taming dangerous beasts, including the secret of using music to calm them. Harry suddenly realized something. They urgently wanted to see Professor Dumbledore, but Professor McGonagall said the headmaster was away on business. Everything was too coincidental. Snape might steal the stone while the headmaster was away. The trio rushed to the room with the three-headed dog, finding it already asleep. Without hesitation, they moved its paw aside and followed, trying to get there first. But suddenly they realized the dog had stopped snoring, and something wet dripped on Ron's shoulder. Seeing the awakened three-headed dog, they jumped down. Escaping the dog, they fell into another trap, but discovered they could escape by staying relaxed and calm. Only Ron couldn't relax, so Hermione used magic to save him. Moving forward, they reached a large door, but thousands of keys flew chaotically overhead. They spotted one key that looked different from the others. Harry thought this would be simple, but the moment he grabbed the broomstick, the keys became violent. Fortunately, Harry's seeker talent remained intact, and the three entered the room before triggering the trap. The hall contained a giant wizard's chess set. Fortunately, Ron's talent lay in this area. They had to win to proceed, but they needed to stand in corresponding positions as chess pieces. Ron commanded the pieces in this strategic game. When reaching the final stalemate, he chose to sacrifice himself to let Harry continue. Ron used himself as bait, getting knocked out by the opponent's queen and falling to the ground, but this gave Harry the victory. Hermione stayed behind to care for Ron and contact others, while Harry continued deeper to stop Snape. Unexpectedly, the final room contained Professor Quirrell. He was the one who had robbed the vault that day, but finding the stone no longer there, he targeted the underground chamber in the forbidden area. On Halloween, he had released the troll to divert attention and steal the stone, but Snape discovered and stopped him. Thinking Harry had uncovered his plot, he cast a spell during the match to kill Harry, but Snape continuously recited counterspells. When the cloak caught fire, Snape immediately knocked down Quirrell, successfully saving Harry. Since then, Snape grew increasingly suspicious of Quirrell, never letting him go out alone at night. Helplessly, Quirrell extracted information from Hagrid and came here while Headmaster Dumbledore was away. He could see the stone in the mirror of Eriste but couldn't extract it. Then Harry approached the mirror and saw himself pulling out the stone and putting it in his pocket. Harry discovered something real had appeared in his pocket but didn't tell Quirrell. However, this might fool others but not Voldemort, who was parasitic on Quirrell's body. Quirrell removed his turban, revealing a terrifying face on the back of his head. After his severe injury, Voldemort had been parasitic on Quirrell, who was obsessed with dark magic. Knowing the stone was in his pocket, Harry immediately turned to flee the underground chamber, then strangled Harry. Harry struggled to remove the man's hands but unexpectedly burned him directly. Harry seemed naturally designed to counter Voldemort, which explained why Quirrell feared shaking hands with him. But now he desperately wanted to seize the stone. Fortunately, Harry reacted quickly, gripping the man's face with both hands. Instantly, Quirrell turned to ash. Voldemort, losing his host, became a soul and passed directly through Harry's body. Harry finally awakened in the hospital wing, and Dumbledore had returned to school. He told Harry the stone had been destroyed. This was the most appropriate action. But Voldemort certainly had other methods of resurrection. Meanwhile, Hermione and Ron were also safe. This adventure strengthened their friendship, forming an exceptional team. At the end of term ceremony, the houses tallied their points. Because Harry had bravely faced Voldemort, the headmaster awarded each of them 50 points. Gryffindor's score shot ahead to first place, winning the House Cup for the semester. Finally, all students would go home for the holidays. Before leaving, Hagrid stopped Harry and gave him a book containing images of his parents. Then Harry boarded the train with Hermione and Ron. As the magical train slowly started, their adventure came to an end.